Almont began his ministrations to the accompanying hiss of the perfumed bellows Richards used to air the room each morning. "Warm day for a hanging," Richards commented, and Sir James grunted his agreement. He doused his thinning hair with the myrtleberry paste. Governor Almont was 51 years old, and he had been growing bald for a decade. He was not an especially vain man, and in any case he normally wore hats, so that baldness was not so fearsome as it might be. Nonetheless, he used preparations to cure his loss of hair. For several years now he had favored myrtleberries, a traditional remedy prescribed by Pliny. He also employed a paste of olive oil, ashes, and ground earthworms to prevent his hair from turning white. But this mixture stank so badly that he used it less frequently than he knew he should. Governor Almont rinsed his hair in the rose water, dried it with a towel, and examined his countenance in the mirror. One of the privileges of his position as the highest official of the Jamaica colony was that he possessed the best mirror on the island. It was nearly a foot square and of excellent quality, without ripples or flaws. It had arrived from London the year before, consigned to a merchant in the town, and Almont had confiscated it on some pretext or other. He was not above such things, and indeed felt that this high-handed behavior actually increased his respect in the community. As the former governor, Sir William Lytton, had warned him in London, Jamaica was not a region burdened by moral excesses. Sir James had often recalled the phrase in later years. The understatement was so felicitously put. Sir James himself lacked graceful speech. He was blunt to a fault, and distinctly choleric in temperament, a fact he ascribed to his gout. Staring at himself in the mirror now, he noted that he must see Enders, the barber, to trim his beard. Sir James was not a handsome man, and he wore a full beard to compensate for his weasel-beaked face. He grunted at his reflection and turned his attention to his teeth, dipping a wetted finger into the paste of powdered rabbit's head, pomegranate peel, and peach blossom. He rubbed his teeth briskly with his finger, humming a little to himself. At the window, Richards looked out at the arriving ship. "They say the merchantman's the Godspeed, sir." "Oh, yes?" Sir James rinsed his mouth with a bit of rose water, spat it out, and dried his teeth with a toothcloth. It was an elegant toothcloth from Holland, red silk with an edging of lace. He had 4 such cloths, another minor delicacy of his position within the colony. But one had already been ruined by a mindless servant girl who cleaned it in the native manner by pounding with rocks, destroying the delicate fabric. Servants were difficult here. Sir William had mentioned that as well. Richards was an exception. Richards was a manservant to treasure, a Scotsman, but a clean one, faithful and reasonably reliable. He could also be counted on to report the gossip and doings of the town, which might otherwise never reach the governor's ears. "The Godspeed, you say?" "Aye, sir," Richard said, laying out Sir James's wardrobe for the day on the bed. "Is my new secretary on board?" According to the previous month's dispatches, the Godspeed was to carry his new secretary, one Robert Hacklet. Sir James had never heard of the man and looked forward to meeting him. He had been without a secretary for 8 months, since Lewis died of dysentery. "I believe he is, sir," Richard said. Sir James applied his makeup. First he daubed on cerise, white lead and vinegar, to produce a fashionable pallor on the face and neck. Then on his cheeks and lips he applied fucus, a red dye of seaweed and ochre. "Will you be wishing to postpone the hanging?" Richards asked, bringing the governor his medicinal oil. "No, I think not," Almont said, wincing as he downed a spoonful. This was oil of a red-haired dog, concocted by a Milaner in London, and known to be efficacious for the gout. Sir James took it faithfully each morning. He then dressed for the day. Richards had correctly set out the governor's best formal garments. First, Sir James put on a fine white silk tunic, then pale blue hose. Next, his green velvet doublet, stiffly quilted and miserably hot, but necessary for a day.